Hi, welcome to Whole Living with Wendy. And as you can see, I have my sweet daughter Kennedy here with me today. And do you want to tell everybody what we're making today?
Was it butternut squash with some kind of sauce on top?
That's right. We're making butternut squash noodles with pesto sauce. And I'm going to give you a couple variations. So it's all going to be paleo friendly. But because I follow an AIP diet, I'm going to give you both variations so that you can modify it to your own family's needs. And this is going to be vegetarian, but can easily be made into a meat lover's dish as well. So I'll give you some options with that. So to get started, I already used my noodle maker. So I have about 3 cups of butternut squash noodles. It takes quite a bit of time, so I didn't want to do it on here because it does take a little bit of time to do the noodles. Later on, I'll post my favorite gadget to do the noodles. There's a lot of them out there. I actually got one on Amazon that was like $20 and it's wonderful. It's perfect. You don't need to spend a ton of money. So we'll get started. So I'll show you that a little bit later, but let's get started. So I have a big skillet and I have it warming up and I'm gonna add in 2 tablespoons of
some kind of oil?
Some kind of oil, that's right. So I'm gonna use olive oil. You can use coconut oil, you can use avocado oil.
Any oil.
Those are my 3 favorite oils. Whoops, that was loud, wasn't it? So we're gonna let that oil start to warm up and then I'll just kind of make sure that it's all on the bottom. And then I minced 2 cloves of garlic. I'm gonna put that in the bottom of the pan and let that start to cook.
That orange stuff sort of looks like some kind of shredded sweet potato.
It does look like a shredded sweet potato, doesn't it? That would be kind of good too.
And shredded sweet potatoes are usually turned into sweet potato fries?
Sweet potato fries, and we do love sweet potato fries, don't we?
Yep.
Those are really delicious. So you're just gonna mix that garlic up just a little bit so it starts to become fragrant. You don't wanna overcook it. Make sure that your burner is on low heat.
If you do have a burner.
Well, hopefully you do, because you really want one for this. Okay, so we have our garlic cooking in here. And then I've taken a 1/4 cup of roughly chopped onion. Now you don't have to use onion. If you follow me, you know that I love garlic and onion in most dishes, and they're great for our immune system and helping support it. So I roughly chopped that, and I'm gonna place that in the pan as well. And just give that a quick little stir. And you're just going to allow the onions to become a little translucent. Do you know what translucent means?
No.
Translucent means it starts to become a little clear, so you can start to see through it a little bit.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, seriously. A school lesson at the same time while you're doing cooking.
Oh yeah, that's kind of cool.
Kind of cool.
And I think I can guess what the next thing we're going to put in there
What's
is.
the next one going to be?
I think it might be olives.
The olives are my secret ingredient for the pesto sauce.
Seriously?
Yes. So we're gonna let that mix up, start to cook in the pan. Now the thing about butternut squash is it really only takes about 4 minutes to cook. It doesn't take very long. And I get a lot of questions about zucchini noodles as well. The key to zucchini noodles as well as butternut squash noodles is you don't want to overcook them. They will get soggy and then it changes the consistency, and it's not like a noodle after all, it's more like a soggy mess. So you really want to make sure that you don't overcook it, that you keep it at a nice low temperature, checking it, because it's supposed to be a pasta alternative. Let's be careful of that cupboard, okay? So it's a pasta alternative. And we do gluten-free pasta. My family does love gluten-free pasta. I typically don't eat it. So typically for an alternative for myself, or even when we're doing just an alternative from gluten-free pasta, I will do zucchini noodles as well as butternut squash noodles. But like I said, make sure that you don't overcook it. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my noodles. That's our next ingredient.
And then maybe after that it will be this.
We'll do that in a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna just start to stir those noodles. Spread it out on the pan so it gives it an opportunity for all of it to cook. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just do a couple pinches of salt. Now, depending upon who your audience is at the dinner table, you might add a little bit of pepper to this as well. It kind of depends. We have one person that doesn't like pepper, so we pepper after it's cooked. So I'm gonna let that cook in here. Remember, it only takes a few minutes. So I wanna give you some health benefits of butternut squash. So butternut squash is great for your immune system. It's great for digestion, and it helps with constipation. So I know a lot of people suffer from constipation, and butternut squash can really aid in that digestion, and it really reduces.
What is constipation?
That's a great question, Kennedy. It's when you have trouble going to the bathroom. That's a good question. So you want to make sure that you have good flow every day, and this is one thing that can really aid and help you. It also helps it supports good bone support. So you want nice, strong bones.
And muscles.
That's right. I'm going to give that a quick little stir. So those are some health benefits for the butternut squash. I'll leave that right there. So we have onion, garlic, olive oil, and our butternut squash. Now we're gonna move on to our pesto sauce. Now, I like to put it in a Cuisinart because it blends it up. You can use a Vitamix, you can use a high power blender, whichever you prefer. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my blade inside.
This looks like the same thing we used for like the ice cream we made.
I know, kind of like our ice cream maker, isn't it? Okay, so here's my Cuisinart, and in here I am going to first add in 2 cups of fresh basil. Now, all you have to do is take the leaves off, and then you can put it inside. So make sure they're nice and washed and clean. Fresh basil. You can also do spinach. So spinach is a great alternative to.
And you can maybe use lettuce.
Lettuce would be a little different taste, but spinach and basil are my 2 favorites. So today we're gonna make a basil pesto. So 2 cups of basil in here. And then after that, we're going to place in here a half a cup of olive oil.
Some more olive oil.
That's
Yay.
right, that's a key ingredient is olive oil in our mix. So I know you've heard me say this before, but you want to make sure that you get a nice, good, fresh, organic, first press olive oil. Okay? So you're going to place that olive oil in there.
That looks like some kind of gooey swamp in here.
It does, doesn't it? Okay, I'm going to give my butternut squash a stir here. Then I'm going to place in, what are those?
I forgot what it's called.
Garlic cloves. So I have 4 cloves of garlic. And because I'm putting them in a Cuisinart, you don't have to chop them up. Okay? And then I'm going to put in...
They sort of look like some kind of potato.
A potato.
In a mushy swamp.
Well, let's hope not. Okay, so I'm going to place now in here a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Again, this would be where you could add a little bit of pepper to it as well if you'd like to. Now, if you are making this and you do dairy, you can add in some Parmesan. And if you're doing Parmesan, I would add in a half a cup of fresh, really good quality Parmesan. I would add that into here as well. The other thing that you can do if you want to add nuts is you can do a 1/4 cup of toasted pine nuts, which is really delicious. It adds a really nice nutty flavor to it. And so just roast them on the stove and they're delicious. I'm not adding nuts. So my secret ingredient that I'm adding is Kalamata olives. So it's going to bring a little bit more flavor to it. That's right. It's going to add some really delicious flavor, especially since I'm not adding the nuts and the cheese. And it'll be a little different. So I'm going to place all those ingredients inside. I'm going to stir my butternut squash. Again, just making sure it is not sticking and that it's cooking nicely. And then I'm going to turn this on. all sit. And allow it all to break up.
Blindy, blindy, blindy. You almost put the lid on that.
Almost. And that was a 1/2 cup of Kalamata olives. Okay? So I'm gonna just work this mixture down.
Looks like a tree.
It is, it's like a paste. That's what it does, is it makes it a paste. Okay, and I'm gonna just place this back on and give it a couple more turns so it gets a little more creamy. And sometimes, depending upon my consistency and did I get a little more leaves, you might add a little drizzle more of the olive oil inside. Okay, so I'm gonna add just a smidge more olive oil. Oh, thank you, good catch. Good catch.
Oh.
Okay, I'll take that now, thank you. Let that, pop that back on. This is one of the investments that I think is worth it. There are lots of kitchen gadgets that I think are not necessary, but a Cuisinart is incredibly helpful and beneficial. That looks delicious.
Looks like some kind of guacamole
It
now.
does look a little bit like a guacamole, doesn't it? I'm gonna take that little blade off. We'll place that over there.
Almost got bladed up.
Okay, so you can see how delicious that is. And like I said, because I'm doing dairy-free and I'm doing nut-free, the Kalamata olives really add an extra layer and depth to the flavor. It brings a woodsy kind of scent into it that you would also get from the pine nuts. So I'm gonna give this a stir. Now I wanna talk to you a little bit, while we're waiting for this to finish, I wanna talk to you a little bit about the benefits of basil. So basil is loaded with vitamin A and C and K, which is really important. It has iron in it. So I know a lot of times people are looking for ways to add iron into their diet, especially if you're a vegetarian and you're not really eating meat. So it really adds that. It's anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. It's great for heart health, and it's delicious.
And
right?
K is the first letter of my name.
And you're right, it is. So olives as well that we used in our basil is a great source of fat, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. So you can see all the things that, again, that I'm working really hard to incorporate into our diet every day is to bring in more anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, immune boosting foods in helping us to stay healthy and strong, right?
Yep.
So this butternut squash is complete. Now, a couple things that you can add, as I said, I'm doing this as a vegetarian, but you can add in some meatballs, turkey meatballs or beef meatballs would be delicious with this. So I would add in the pesto, stir it all up with the butternut squash, add the meatballs in with it. It would be like a spaghetti and meatball dish, right?
Yep.
You could also add some fresh tomatoes, so some Roma tomatoes would be delicious in this butternut squash. You could do just some ground turkey. Ground turkey would be an added benefit for this as well. If you don't want to add the pesto, you might just try the noodles by themselves, and you can do it as a side dish or as part of a salad. But again, just trying to bring in immune boosting, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, really nutrient dense, vitamin enriched foods. So hope that you enjoyed today. I'll post a picture again later of the zoodle maker that I love. The finished product, come back later, and then I'll post the complete recipe. If you want the complete recipe, go over to wendypurviance.com, and that will be there for you to check it out later. And I hope that I'd love to see a picture. So take a picture if you make this and post it at Whole Living with Wendy.
And we hope you love it.
We hope you love it. So tomorrow, join us back at 11:30 Pacific time. And what are we making tomorrow?
We're making ice cream sandwiches. I think ice cream and something else.
We're making ice cream sandwiches. So last week we brought to you the chocolate, non-dairy chocolate ice cream, and now we're going to add cookies with it and create our own ice cream sandwich. So we hope that you join us back tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.